Hello, this is David Taylor Klaus, and welcome to Mindset Mondays with DTK. This is episode 52 in what was initially a year-long program, weekly live Facebook broadcasts for folks with a growth mindset or those who'd like to create one. And this morning, not just because it's the 52nd, not just because we're at a year, but this is a special one because I have a special guest. We gotta step in and step up. Hi. So I've invited Elaine Taylor Klaus of Impact ADHD, also happens to be my wife, to join me for this broadcast. And I'm going to promote up to the screen the topic we're playing with today. Okay, this is a quote by Napoleon Hill. Right? Patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success. So
seemed like an appropriate one for this week.
So I picked this one, obviously, for powering through 52 episodes every single Monday for the year at 10 a.m. Eastern, regardless of
time zone,
vacation.
How you felt.
Yeah.
Right?
A couple of Jewish holidays in there.
Some rain in there.
Yeah.
Weather issues.
Broadcasting one outside in the backyard on the back stairs in Philadelphia right before I took my son for a tour of a university.
Right.
So we've had some...
There were obstacles.
To
overcome.
And, part of this was making a commitment to do it for a year and making the commitment publicly to do it for a year. It definitely, I had to complete it.
Created some accountability.
It created some accountability.
Yeah.
Nothing like putting it out in the world to make it accountable.
But I just want to say you didn't have to. You chose to.
I chose to.
You put it out there, and you could have halfway through the year said, okay, I'm done. But you didn't.
Right.
Because you persisted.
Yes. Well, okay, so there's the persistence piece. It was, persistence is a choice.
That's right.
And being held accountable is actually still a choice. I could say that I was held accountable by everybody out there, but no. I'm still holding myself accountable.
Yeah.
Right.
At the end of the day, we always are the ones holding ourselves accountable.
And the patience piece, I think, is a big one.
Yeah.
Right. It's for me, patience showed up in this one as being patient with myself as I went through this. I got irritated at the cadence of having to do it, the every Tuesday and Wednesday putting the piece together that I was going to talk about, the patience around creating space in my routine to do this.
The patience to figure out how to do it at the beginning. I mean, it took you a little while as you were doing it at the beginning to sort of get it and feel like you'd gotten a rhythm, and getting to that point was a little frustrating, if I recall.
Yeah, the first several weeks, I had to be patient and try to get my feet under me.
Right.
Well, then there were the 3 weeks before of trying to find, I need to take a photograph of this rig, of the way the lights are set up with the standing desk.
Yeah.
What it took and the number of things ordered from from Amazon and then sent back to Amazon to get the rig to work just right. And thank you again, Brian Gartman. I sent photos back and forth to Brian Gartman as well to ask him, is this going to work? Is this the right stuff?
Right.
So yes, other people were patient with me as well. And
people have had to be patient with you a lot over the years.
Over 53 years. Let's just keep it to the last year, shall we?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it was an exercise in patience all the way around. And the perspiration piece is interesting in this.
So you're going to just pass through persistence. Was that enough on persistence?
Well, we started with persistence.
Okay.
Is there more? There's always more.
I think there's always more. I think persistence is really hard. I think it's hard for everybody because it's that when something gets boring, when you've done it enough, when, it's hard for a lot of us to get through.
When the novelty wears off.
Yeah. Right. Completion, right? Continuity, sticking with it. It's, you mean I have to do the dishes again? I have to you have to plan and make dinner again. Like that, I just have to keep going even when I don't want to, when I'm bored, when I'm not interested, when it's, not my thing, when whatever. I think persistence is hard.
Well, look, and going back to that whole ADD thing, persistence is a challenge for me because when the novelty is worn off, I get bored.
Quickly.
Yeah. And what I like about this is the opportunity on Be Live, the tool that I use, to be able to see the comments of folks that come in. So it allows
So it keeps it novel for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and so you're playing to your strength here too. Like you are able to persist because you found a methodology of doing this that gave you feedback, gave you creative changes. It was always different every week because it's a different topic. But you really worked with it to make it work for you.
Yeah, if I had the same topic every week, I'd have gotten bored by week 4.
Yeah, maybe that long.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, maybe.
And yeah, that is the difference. It's playing to my strengths. And I think that for anything that you do that you want to create a cadence for it, create a rhythm for, and create a cycle for, you've got to have some attachment to it, some connection to it to build that persistence. So playing to your strengths.
But the other thing is, I think you have to set the intention. Like part of the reason that you're able to persist is because you set your mind to it and said, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to push through it when it gets hard and I'm committed to it. And that intention is, you can't persist if you don't kind of know why or for what purpose. Or so I think that value, that's a huge piece that's not part of the quote, but it kind of underlies all of it.
So I'm glad that's recorded because that's going to have to find its way into the book.
Okay.
the setting the attention piece.
Yeah, it's huge, especially for you. Always has been.
Yeah, that's the fall off point usually.
That's the why we're still married point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just your patience.
And your intention.
There you go.
It's good.
And I think that the perspiration piece of this is a key. It's just that physical powering through, right? It's
hard work.
It is hard work.
Yeah.
And it's the plow perspective. You got to just keep powering through it. And it takes stamina. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean doing a broadcast once a week. I mean any of the things that you find important, any of the things that we choose to drive towards takes that hard work, hard emotional, hard physical work.
Well, so what was jumping up at me as you were saying that is that, we're coming up on 27 years of marriage, right? In a couple of weeks, days. Right? Yeah. So, and there's a lot of persistence and perspiration and patience involved with getting to that point. And there's something about the perspiration that you got to do the hard work and you got to know when to work hard. But sometimes in life you got to know you don't power through to the point where it's so hard that you're hurting yourself.
Right.
Right. Like there's this dance with it.
Josh was talking about the kids that try out for Ultimate who during the tryouts are pushing so hard, half of them end up throwing up.
Right. Yeah.
Said that, yeah.
It works for some people.
It works for some people. That's not a motivator for him.
But is that a long-term, strategy? Maybe not. So
no, I don't think so.
Maybe not.
But I don't want to pass over what Neil threw out there. Brings us back to the idea of mindset, which is sort of why we're doing this whole thing.
Yeah.
You choose the mindset to make the persistence worthwhile. You have to want it and declare it.
Right. And declare it. And that's exactly what I mean by setting the intention. Thank you, Neil, because it's not just deciding, but it's also communicating it, whether you're communicating to yourself or to someone else. Like you come up with all kinds of things in your head, but until you kind of put it out there, it's just an idea. Right.
I like Dwayne's question. Have you seen a change in yourself as a result of this year's effort?
That's a great question.
Thanks, Coach.
You got some great coaching. Yeah.
By the way, the photo that we used and that we've been promoting this with are photos that Dwayne Stewart took of us. Yeah. So thanks, Dwayne. I think the change has been letting go of, I seem to have this lingering fascination with the idea that in order for it to be valuable, to be valued, to be good, it's got to be hard. And it doesn't. So much of my work is finding ease and flow and helping my clients find ease and flow. And yet I still have that thing, that voice that says, oh, no, you got to work hard for it to be good, right? And you don't. You find a way to make it easeful, to play to your strengths and find a way to make it have ease.
Well, is there a difference between working hard and hard, making it hard, having it be hard? Like we work really hard, but it doesn't mean it's always hard.
No. But this is one of
Right.
those where I made it hard, and I made it
Yeah.
hard for months, and so I didn't do it. And then while I was assisting at a CTI course, I got some coaching during one of the practices with the students.
Yeah.
And I got called out, and I literally called Jody in the middle of the coaching session and said, "Okay, we got
Okay,
to
we're
launch
gonna
in
do
February."
this. Yeah.
So yeah, so there are times where I used to, and I
You
probably
made up a
still do,
story that it was hard.
that it was hard or going to be really hard.
Right.
And so I stepped back.
Mhm.
And so I find, Dwayne, that to your question, that I don't do that as much. And so, looking at a way to, as you're saying, play to your strengths,
Yeah.
finding ways to play to my strengths to make it easeful, attaching a motivation to thing to make it enjoyable and full of ease. So yes, there's been a change.
Well, and there's a change in the last year, and then there's a change in the bigger picture of, like this is an issue. These are all issues you've dealt with all your life, right? We've dealt with all of our married life. And we deal with them differently as time goes by, and we learn more, and our mindset shifts, and we get older and wiser. A little grayer, but definitely older and wiser.
Yeah.
And it's when you look back, we didn't have the wisdom to know why we were doing some of the things in the early years. Sometimes we were just powering through and
Yeah.
persisting and, perspiring with a little, maybe less patience in the early years.
Yeah, patience. The grayer I've gotten, the more patient I've become.
It's so true. It really is true.
Well, and Dwayne had sort of a follow-on question. What changes in David have you noticed? He was asking you.
I'm hearing it. I'm
Yeah.
processing it. I think David's speaking to it really is that there's been David's decision to do this and his commitment to it and his continuity with it. For David to do the same thing within, not exactly the same thing, but the same thing every Monday morning for a year is huge. It's huge. That is because this is a guy who likes things to change and likes novelty and likes shiny objects. And, it's a really, to be that consistent is a challenge, I'd say.
It has proven,
fair?
It has proven
Been
to
a
be
bit of
in
a
the
challenge.
past, yeah.
And there's a lot of work that goes on
Yeah.
behind the scenes, that you guys don't see, that him preparing the emails and every Sunday night and every Wednesday night and there's work that's happening consistently, which I've seen him step into, but not with any kind of regret or annoyance, but with just clarity. No, but I've got to do this. This is the priority. And that knowing what your priority is can be empowering.
Well, it's interesting. The appointments that people tend to blow off, they don't blow off client appointments or times on the calendar with family or friends. They blow off appointments with themselves.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
this process hasn't afforded me the opportunity to do that. And so it's shifted it to keeping appointments with other people. I'm flawless at.
Yeah.
With myself, not so much. So this has been, it's reshaped that a little bit.
Well, and it created a context. So when you said, I have to do this, sometimes they're like, can I get your attention for something? I don't know what he's working on. But when he is able to communicate and say, this is what I'm doing, I know what it's for. I know what the larger picture is. And there's a lot more ability for me to be patient, right? And to give the license for you because you're on point, you're on purpose.
It's something that
right?
has time, it's time bound.
Yeah.
Well, and Larry, I like the question, need those little wins along the way to help with persistence. And that goes back to a couple of the topics that we've talked about in actually the last month, that yes, absolutely. The little win, building success begets success. So if you can build a structure where you have a chance for those little wins, absolutely. I mean, even the stage setup that I'm using, it's designed with a lot of the gamification concepts built in, where I see as people sign on and sign off, and I see as people react to it, and I see the comments coming. So, dude, those are little wins. Having those little pieces of information flow in really helps keep going even in the broadcast. When I've had times where the information panel isn't working, where I don't know if anybody's logged on. I just see the big zero. I don't see if anybody's making comments. the energy is very different. So even at the micro level, having feedback, and those little wins or feedback, does build your stamina for
the long
the
haul.
persistence.
Well, and what's jumping out, and I think as I've been thinking about this, in the bigger picture of our marriage and the time that we've been with each other. And like, we've always been about celebrate the little victories, right? Like when the kids were little, when everything else was devolving, which kind of happened sometimes, particularly in the early years before we knew what we were dealing with.
And an ADD family of 5, that happens.
Which wasn't diagnosed initially and wasn't being treated initially, but other than that. But that ability to sort of step on the fireplace with a kitchen spoon and sing Aretha, or whatever, for the little things, always helped us overcome those tendencies to run away. Whatever runaway looked like in that moment.
Well, and Robin's got a great piece, how this journey inform other initiatives you want to bring to the world. And a great question, Robin. What I love about that is so much of the work is around enabling and supporting other folk as they bring initiatives to the world. And this is, as you watch over the next several months, as you hear from me about the book and it's being completed and moving towards release. That's
a big deal.
The more that I can get out the work that I do to the world, whether it's through a book or through speaking, that's more of that unleashing. It doesn't do anyone any good if I'm the only one who knows. And this is a beginning of having a community of folks who are, interested in and connected to content. And the more this is really fueling more of an unleashing, the opportunity to get the audience out.
Well, and what I would add to that, Robin, specifically, is this has got him to do something that he's been talking about doing for years that he was never going to do if he didn't have a structure and a motivation and all of this has sort of brought him to something that I think for a really long time, you thought was too hard.
Yeah.
Right. And now you made up that it was too hard. And now
because we all make up that it's hard. And it's not.
So I'm really excited because now he's really committed. And it's going to happen. And it was something that wasn't happening because of the story you told yourself, not because you didn't have the capacity to do it.
The only thing that limits us is the stories we tell ourselves.
Right.
And Dorothy, thank you. One of the greatest mindset shifts you learned from this year was the belief that the world was creating challenge to work in my favor and not against me. It's part of that idea of pronoia. Paranoia is the irrational belief that the universe is conspiring against you. Well, pronoia is the opposite. It's that irrational belief that the universe is conspiring in your favor.
Can we not get that irrational? Can we give that something else? I want to believe that it's.
You want to believe that
it's rational.
It's the rational belief
that
the universe is conspiring in your favor. So even the challenge is a feeder. It's a support.
Yeah. Well, if you choose to see it that way, which is, back to that whole. That's why this mindset thing really matters. Kind of makes a difference. It might catch on. Right. It sticks.
So again, the idea that patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success.
So there's one more thing I wanted to talk about.
Right.
Is that okay? I mean, we're almost out of time.
It's our stage.
Love that. And I'm like almost at your height. I'm up on a stool wheel because I'm normally so short. I wanted to talk about what got us from there to here.
Yeah.
And one of the key things that we did early on that sort of ties into these notions of patience and persistence was this concept you and I had called give each other the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. That's one to be persistent about.
That it was hard to do. Mm-hmm. But there was a wonderful therapist we loved and worked with many years ago who gave us this gift. Yeah. And I just think that it's another, besides intention, that's the underlying piece to all of this, is giving each other the benefit of the doubt, giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt. Like
that was the unspoken key.
Right. right? Is believing in what is possible instead of what's not, so that you can have the patience to persist and work hard and do all of that. But you have to trust in the concept in some way first. So just
Well, and giving each other and giving oneself the benefit of the doubt allows for so much more possibility. When you presume that you know what's going on in somebody else's head and react from there, you torpedo any possibility there is in the relationship and in the connection. And same for when you presume that the stories you're telling yourself are true, you torpedo possibility.
Right.
So that benefit of the doubt thing is huge.
Yeah.
It really is the opportunity to let go of what is made up to be true and actually lean into possibility. And that's absolutely what this whole mindset conversation has been about, is choosing and testing what you believe and choosing what you hold as true. And so, yes, Emily Gale Aiken, I will be here next week. I am going to continue this ongoing, so it's no longer a year long. It's an ongoing series of indeterminate length.
I was going to say, until you decide.
Until I decide.
It's not something you want to continue, and you get to be a choice about that.
Well, and thank you, all of you, for being along for the ride. Those who are here live and those that watch it after, and those that will, oh, by the way, we're launching this as dropping the full year onto a podcast on iTunes. So the audio will be available. So we're setting it up to drop a year as a series at a time. So thanks for playing along, and thanks for being part of it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, the Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/Mindset Monday. So you can join the group at any point. It's a free to join, and it's just an opportunity to continue the conversations we have here in the live feeds. So between now and next week, what mindset will you choose? Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.